Welcome to Sex and Breakfast, the sexy way to start your day. Dishing out sexpert advice and spicy insights about sex, love, and everything in between. Hosted by sex coaches and therapists from around the globe.
I'm Dr. Norelyn, and today we're skipping the mimosas and spilling the tea on getting turned on without the bubbly. We're diving into sober sex and reframing that just one drink and asking questions like, is that glass of wine helping you unwind or is it holding you back? We're talking booze, boundaries, and sexy little swaps like adaptogens and aphrodisiacs. So sip your mushroom latte and let's explore pleasure. No hangover required. So I was really inspired to talk about this because in my private practice, I talk with a lot of couples who say they often turn to alcohol to drop into their bodies and drop into their bodies after a long day of work, a long day of chasing after little ones, and they need something essentially to take the edge off. And while that can be done safely, sanely, consensually, and in moderation, I think over time, it's become something that's normalized where that one drink can turn into 2 and 3, and we start actually experiencing the negative effects of alcohol during sex and post sex. And so I really wanted to speak towards just bringing an awareness to alcohol and that it's been normalized in our culture and the marketing around it. And it shows up in ways like new relationships, first, second, and third dates are often centered around going to grab drinks, which will then typically lead to first sexual experiences being under the influence of alcohol. And then thinking forward into a long-term relationship or a marriage, you can have these, oh, we need to press the reset button on our sex life. So let's create this date night. But then if the date night always has alcohol, then our nervous systems pair it very strongly with this inability to relax without the alcohol. And this is where we start to find we again shift into the negative effects. So I want to talk quickly about the different ways that alcohol affects our bodies. And some of these I think are really obvious, like consent. We have lowered inhibitions, and the less obvious are related to the differences in gender. So if we look at male bodies, a lot of my male clients use alcohol to manage their ejaculation control. And sometimes ejaculation control is tied to anxiety. So they go, oh, well, let me have that one glass of whiskey, that one glass of wine. And then they think that that's dampening their sensitivity in their genitals and therefore can control their ejaculation. But in the long run, that's not really the case because then they'll end up with delayed ejaculation and they won't be able to orgasm. So this is a myth that I like to reframe when I talk with my clients about alcohol. And then if we switch to the female body, it's known to increase arousal. Like women will say, oh, well, I'm having trouble getting in the mood. So I'm going to have that glass so that I can feel horny. Can I feel that arousal kind of come in? But what they don't realize in the long run is that it creates that effect, but it's maybe due to like this relaxation because they're letting go of the day, but it's not truly creating a high increase in arousal. And it's actually contributing to dryness and lack of blood flow to their genitals. So all around, once we're going beyond that one drink, our bodies are really suffering. And then we get on the other side of the experience, depending on how much we've had, we end up with what's called hangxiety, which is the anxiety that comes after drinking alcohol. Since we're all coaches here, I would love to know what you commonly hear from your clients when they describe their reliance on alcohol as it relates to sexual connection.
Yeah, I find many of my clients describe alcohol as something they see as almost inseparable from sex, like you mentioned. It's become this gateway to intimacy with the stress, the fast pace of daily life. Couples often struggle to unwind and connect emotionally or physically, and drinking becomes a way to lower inhibitions and like bridge that gap to help them get over the hump to rekindle intimacy that might otherwise feel out of reach.
And in at my end, I do have clients who use alcohol, but I also have Muslim clients and other clients who are teetotaler and cannot use alcohol. So therefore, this is out of bounds, and so I thought I just want to highlight it. So I guess for me, it's very important to be mindful of clients with different values as well. And yeah, and I would also love to hear for clients who are teetotaler, what will be their alternative? I think we're going to touch on that later. And in
Yeah.
addition, yeah, and in addition, there will be part of me that remains cautious, and that part will be eager to understand and explore the reliance with alcohol. So while for some it may be greatly beneficial, I will also check if there's any underlying issue, like if there's any anxiety components that needs to be considered, or is there a depression. So I will check in, not just sex, but other aspect of their life. They could be using alcohol for public speaking because they have social anxiety, for example. So I will I have that somewhere in the background to check.
Yeah. And to that point, I often ask my clients, well, at what part of the experience are they consuming? Is it as a part of the ritual of the end of their day and it's helping them transition? Is it during the intimacy building of a date? And what part of their ritual? And that is the key to kind of solving the blockage that they may be trying to unblock with alcohol. And then we are going to look for alternatives to kind of shift and make sure that alcohol can become a celebratory substance instead of a crutch. So I use two keywords here, ritual and crutch. And I'd love to hear if one of you has an offering of describing when alcohol is a ritual or versus a crutch.
Yeah, I'll speak into that. So for me, a ritual is when it's done with intention, whether that be putting XYZ substance in your body or a prayer or something that's done with clear intention of it being a ritual, maybe even for sacred purposes or religious
Mm,
purposes. A crutch is the physical, mental need for something. So that's my distinction that I've shared with people before. So even, for example, when they're using other things like psilocybin, so it's not like party party. It's always setting an intention, a sacred intention, before you go into an experience.
beautiful. Thank you for that.
Hmm.
And I wonder if there's a couple of quick myths that you see around that anyone here sees around alcohol and libido.
So for me, I remember alcohol being related to sex as in like with dancing. Like I just need to have a drink if before I dance, that kind of thing. Like I just need a drink before I get intimate or have sex because it relaxes me. Yeah, so that's how I have
Is that
heard.
like social lubricant,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many people I've heard who would just say that, even random people on a dance floor. I'm like, really? It's just music.
Yeah.
I love social lubricant. Did you just coin that, Norlin?
Oh no, definitely.
Oh
Oh,
no.
I've heard that before. It's not mine. I
Yeah.
can't take credit.
I have clients with painful sex, like vaginismus, and they get very frustrated with the condition. So sometimes they're like, maybe I'll just drink alcohol, knock myself out, and just get it done and over with. But, we're really touching on consent, and the idea of grin and bear it just doesn't sit well for me. Yeah, I know it's very frustrating to get to that point where with vaginismus you feel like sometimes you feel like you're not normal, and so they just want to get it done and over with, get that first penetration. So let's drink it, like when you watch this Western movie, and then they don't have any medication, and then the guy just have a whiskey and then just chop their legs off. It sounds extreme, but that's what I have in mind.
That's a perfect example of what you're saying is like, okay, somebody who's experiencing chronic pain during sex, let me get to that 3 beer, 3 glass of wine numbness so that I can white knuckle through this experience a bit easier. Now that brings me back to Dominique's use of the word intention. Now, when you're using alcohol or any substance with the intention to numb, unhealthy. But if you're using a glass of wine intentionally as a part of a ritual connection experience, and both people are consenting to that and acknowledging that intention, great, have the glass of wine before sex. But that's really, really a key image that you brought, Dion, of this vehicle that people use, unfortunately, for alcohol. So thank you for that. Enough about alcohol. For um, let's talk about the sexy swaps. How can we, if we are intentionally going to shift and explore alternatives, what does that look like? And I want to bring up the phrase, me being a native Californian, I hear very often, I'm California sober. And I hear this often at like social gatherings, and somebody's like, oh, would you like a drink? And people will just, the shorthand, instead of explaining their relationship to alcohol, they'll go, I'm California sober. That essentially means they've made the decision to not consume alcohol that night or moving forward, but they do consume cannabis, they do consume adaptogens. So, really quickly, this is a new word that I'm seeing pop up in a lot of places: adaptogenic blends, adaptogenic drinks. And this is basically a natural substance, usually a plant or an herb, that helps the body adapt to stress and restore balance, homeostasis, in physiological function. So if we take the way people are using alcohol to restore balance, if we're in the state of anxiety or depression, to bring us back to this more balanced place. And you can do so with adaptogens that don't have negative side effects and actually have enhancing effects on our sexual response systems. And a couple of examples are ashwagandha. This is going to be a more calming substance, cortisol regulation. There's rhodiola, an uplifting herb that helps fatigue and focus. Mushrooms are everywhere. Not psilocybin. That's another episode. But there's mushrooms like reishi that can be found in powdered supplements or mixed with ceremonial cacao that support libido and give you this grounding sort of presence through its effects on the nervous system. So there's a long list and it can go on. And I want to say that if you look for these, you'll start seeing them. Stores like Sprouts, a common grocery store out here in California, stores like Target, even. If you look, there's a little shelf on the bottom corner of my Target that's slowly growing in the end of the alcohol section. next to the mixers are these non-alcoholic adaptogenic drinks. And you read closely in the ingredients and it'll spell out the different kind of physiological effects they have. And this is where I tell my clients to go. You want to keep the ritual of having a drink together, but you want to move away from that glass of wine, that glass of whiskey. Try out one of these drinks instead. You still have that feeling of a ritual. So, does anyone have any favorites, non-alcoholic, sensual, or calming rituals for couples or solo exploration as well?
Yeah, well, I know not everyone uses cannabis, whether for personal reasons or due to local laws. Some clients have found that a small, intentional, chosen dose can be helpful tool for relaxation and deepening sensory awareness. It's not about getting high, but it's about consciously using it to feel more grounded in the body and present in the moment. So, for the right person, this would be a great exploration.
I love that you say small and intentional because a little microdose of cannabis can go a long way. So I love that. That's a great example of being California sober and dropping into the body through this plant medicine.
I love that, Nicole. I always recommend using some sort of breath work. So I teach a kind of breath work, so tantric breath work, or really any kind of breath work that you've learned along the way to connect with your partner. It's just kind of like, you know, helps you ground into your body, your breath, eye gazing. Um, it just is so nice to not, like you said, use any kind of alcohol or substances. So, yeah.
In your experience,
Yeah.
uh, would you say that breath work can lead to altered states in a similar way?
Oh,
That
yes. Oh,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Because
From
I think
personal,
a lot of listeners may hear breath work and they go, "Oh, so like the four corner or the box breathing,"
the box breath. Yeah.
and I think what you're talking about is like you can use breath work to get to altered states, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been, check out different kinds of Tantra. There's an episode that will be released or has been released about Tantra where it's been around for thousands of years. So I'm going to say it's a proven alternating method for couples and solo practitioners. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and at my end, I'm a big fan of mindfulness or grounding exercises. It could be a hot shower or a bath before sex, dab a lotion perfume on your body after, smell it, feel how relaxed your body is, your skin silky smooth. Put on an old or a new soft silky underwear, increase the anticipation. And to be honest, sometimes it is all about anticipation. It's like when you are courting, right? The build up can be amazing. And this can be text each other before the D-Day, tease, make an effort to flirt via yeah, text, whatever it is. Sometimes the things that we do outside the bed can make a hell of a lot of difference. It's just about creating the right context.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned a hot shower before sex because what that makes me think of is the hot shower or cold shower. I'm thinking of the
Mm.
sauna experience, right? That you can sort of create at home, which if we ground that in what we know about the physiology of the body, yes, you feel physically relaxed with a hot shower because your muscles get more pliable, but we do know that that more extreme temperatures of the hot shower or the cold shower can really short circuit like our stress responses in a good way, which is akin to going back around. What am I trying to achieve with that glass of red wine? A relaxation effect. Can I achieve that by jumping in the shower and really slowing down and taking my time and having that be a part of my sexual context?
That is a good question. Another question also, it's sometimes asking yourself, the difference. Who am I with a glass of red wine sexually, and who am I without? And that kind of question can open up many things. Maybe before wine, you are a very shy person, and sometimes a little bit of a reframing or challenge. What if we embrace the shyness? Shy can be another way of sexual expression in the world that's very bold and always glorified. There's nothing wrong with people who are confident in bed, but then on the other hand, how about those who are shy and curious?
That makes me think of like the flirtatious energy that you have in the beginning of a relationship. And for a couple that's been together a long time, yeah, if you switching away from the normal substances that you became really comfortable using, this shyness may show itself, but why don't we embrace it and see what fun juiciness we can have there? So this leads to my another question that I have, which is, what do you say to clients who say the phrase that they feel like they're in their head during sober sex? So let's say you've chatted, or you listeners, you're thinking about trying this, and then you have this experience, and you're like, oh, I'm too in my head now during sober sex. Now I kind of want to go back to the comfort of the glass of wine, and you might feel stuck. So, what would you say to someone who shared that experience?
I say when clients feel anxious or stuck in their heads during sober sex, whether it's due to challenges like erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation, difficulty reaching orgasm, or just general discomfort, I often encourage them to take the pressure off sex altogether, take it off the table entirely. Reframing the experience as intimacy time can significantly reduce stress. So instead of aiming for performance, the focus shifts to connection. And this might mean just giving each other an erotic massage, playing a sensual game, or listening to erotica together. It helps couples relax, stay present, and rebuild comfort and trust in a more playful way with low pressure. And I've recently had a few clients try the game called Our Sex Game. And I found it made them get out of their heads and less nervous because they could channel erotic energy through the game, which took stress off them. And then trying to figure out what to do, instead of like trying to figure out what to do, they were like enjoying the game. And then it generally led to sex, but that wasn't the focus.
I love that, Nicole. Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes reframing it like, let's have a playtime with no destination, just play. It can be helpful. I happen to I happen to live in a culture that does not promote play, so that can be tricky. And so perhaps sometimes we, as a sex coach, we do have to teach clients how to play again. And it could be many things. It could be tickling each other. It could be slapping each other back or backside in the kitchen. Having that code, that can tease each other. Yeah. And
Definitely check on that tickling, because whew, my body said no just thinking about that. So consent, the surprise
yes,
tickle.
like, no, no.
But a surprise spank.
Yeah, the floor on the table.
Yeah, like how do you encourage playfulness if you live in a culture that does not promote playfulness, right? That can be tricky. Have you ever encountered that?
I've not encountered that in a cultural aspect, but in a judgment of, it feels somehow it feels like it's too youthful, like this connection to being younger or it not being sexy. And that's more of the narrative. How do I tap into that but still be in this like empowered and sexy place without feeling like you're reverting back to, that's the balance I think I've encountered for my
Yeah, I mean, I
clients.
have to, what's the term, pony off on that. I'm just thinking about sexual terms. Sorry, right now I'm like, sex. Sorry about that. But yeah, I used to have somebody that I worked for, and she'd always be like, just be goofy, just be silly. And I'm like, I'm not a silly, goofy person though. So it goes, but I'm a playful person, but I don't think goofy or silly fall into my genre of playfulness.
If people want or are curious about this, drop us a comment. We'd love to know if that's an episode we should do on just playfulness. So in the bedroom.
To go off with what you both were talking about as far as what Norelyn's question was. So I love what you both shared, and I can't emphasize enough like the importance of having non-sexual intimate time together. So things, again, the shower is huge. Whenever my husband's home, we shower together, and most of the times it doesn't lead to sex because it's like shower, eat, relax, and then bed kind of thing. So it's this thing where you got to find another way to be intimate together. So massage, like you've already said, and the shower time can be so sexy, and just holding each other in the shower while the water's off and going on. It's really yummy.
So, as you can see, this is a very big topic that leads to other big topics as well. And circling back to the top, this episode was about exploring sober sex and exploring alternatives to altered states through a substance. Now, I'm still very alcohol positive, but when it's done with intention and conversations and self reflection over where we're placing alcohol in our personal rituals and what it's connected to and what we may be trying to achieve or remove in terms of anxiety and depression as it relates to sexual intimacy. So, the world of adaptogens is really, really big right now. We're going to put some information in the show notes about our favorites. And yeah, thank you for contributing to this chat today.
Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, send us some love by sharing, hitting subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us connect to more incredible people like you. If you want to learn more about sex coaching or therapy, you can find us at sexandbreakfastpodcast.com, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at sexandbreakfastpodcast. The people helping us cook this all up are Michael Merle, creating our tasty tunes, dishing out our audio and video is Max Rainier, and our delectable visual designs by Brie Vilaubi.